Well, let's start our meeting. Welcome, everybody. And on behalf of the club and your president, I want to welcome all of you. This is, I think, the most wonderful meeting of the year because we're going to be honored, our whole club, officers, and everybody for the tireless work that you've all done to achieve the award we're getting tonight. And I really want to give a big shout out to PDG Will Miller and his incredible wife, DE Alicia, for really stepping up this last year, really more than a year, about a year and a half, right, to Governor Allen? And you know that from two governors here, you start way before your year, really 3 years. So this was an ongoing project for over a year and a half to really get us where we needed to be before we could even get to where we had to be. We've achieved our goal, and it's a great accomplishment. I know I say this to Suzanne when she was president several years ago. I know you achieved this, so it's not the first time, but it is the first time in several years. So Governor Allen, we're so thankful with obviously the state we're in the world today, and certainly in our district and everywhere else, that it probably would have been more gracious and wonderful to have this on ground somewhere. But because we are an E-Club, this is how we would do it anyhow.
Absolutely.
So we're in our element tonight. So I got all dressed up. I have my bottle of water wine. No, it's just water to toast everybody. It's not about me, it's about you and the club. So I want to turn it over first to our District Governor Allen to do the ceremonies tonight, and then we'll get some word afterwards. I'm sure you'll hear from the club and some good things that do the following. So I want to turn it over to you. Thank you so much, Governor Allen, for taking the time and working with Will and Alicia to make it happen tonight. So on behalf of the club, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Andy, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you tonight, and some good friends. Doug LaBelle, I see you're here. I see Jim Trimmel just logged in, and that kind of thing. So welcome all. Suzanne did a great thing for me today. She sent me an email, and in that email it said, you know, how to look good for all these Zoom calls. Now, you know, obviously this is my 13th Zoom call this week, so she thought I needed something. So thank you for that, Suzanne.
What did I say? I'm not sure I understand.
I said you sent me an email today, and it said how to look good in all of these Zoom meetings.
Okay.
Will Miller has really done that.
Well, Will looks good. I mean, he looks good all the time. But so anyway, I thank you for that piece of information. We've had that. You know what's really remarkable is you're right, Andy. We start planning these gubernatorial years 3 years back, and it certainly, as we sit here today, has nothing to do with any of the planning that we had going into this year. If you remember, our first visit with you was pretty much in terms of setting goals for this year and where we were all headed, and we were having liaison, and we were talking about going to Hawaii, and we were talking about our district conference and our youth conference, Doug, and everything else that we had planned this year. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out like that. And Will, past District Governor Will, which I was an AG for Will when he was the district governor, and I had a lot of fun. But you know, he would always tell me that when you get this, there are usually 7 ugly dragons that'll pop their heads up during your year. And then some of the other governors said, well, they usually don't come until after January, Alan. And then all of a sudden came March 1st, and here they were. All 7 at one time came right through the door. You know, so we've made some serious sacrifices out there right now. But I think the one that we have to worry about the most is keeping each and every one of us safe and healthy. There's no way we can do anything for anybody in our community if we're down ourselves. So I've sent emails to each and every one of you periodically just asking you to adhere to all the federal and local, and thank you, Jim, and state protocol, local government protocol for what we've got going out, and it you know, social distancing and canceling everything, all the major events that we've had, even all the way out through S4TL. And now I find that we've canceled our district leadership seminar in Jacksonville as well in June. But so many of these things are still way on down the road. that we've had to adhere to. I will tell you that I will bounce off of polio for just a second and tell you that so far year to date, we've had Afghanistan's got no new polio cases this year, but no new polio cases this week, but 3. And Pakistan's got 39. So we're a total of 42 polio cases this year. Now the downside of that is with the COVID-19 things, they've stopped all vaccination programs. So all vaccination programs around the world have been halted. I don't know if you know how we do this nowadays. We do these MIDs where we've got these mass immunization days, but really what's out there in the world is a series of response teams. And these response teams monitor different parts of the world. And what they do is they monitor the sewer content, believe it or not. And if they find a wild polio virus in that sewer content someplace around the world, it turns into what we see here at Cobalt is a hotspot. And they send teams in there, and they're so good now they can trace it back to almost to a city block of where that specimen came from, and then they start immunizing all those people around there in a close knit. So that's kind of how we've done that in the past. So, but right now polio immunizations have stopped until the latter part of this year. Let me get back to congratulating each and every one of you. What we really had in planned and what I was heading to on this planning was Alicia and Will and I were actually and Teresa and I were going to get together at Will's house, and we were actually going to celebrate with some hors d'oeuvres and a cocktail, and then be there when we presented this award to you. Well, obviously that didn't happen in terms of that, but I do want to congratulate you both on all your entire team and your entire club on your award, and Alicia has that award. I think she ran to get it. But congratulate you on this award, and I believe that this is a citation with a gold banner. Is that correct or incorrect?
No, that's platinum.
Platinum. Okay, platinum. So okay, if it's platinum distinction, you are one of only 3 clubs that got the citation with platinum distinction. So thank you and congratulate each and every one of you guys.
Very good.
Now, I sent out an email to everyone, was it yesterday? This morning, when this email went to all club presidents, all club secretaries. I reinforced that back through all the AGs, but because of the way our whole year has changed, obviously the criteria for the citations has changed too. I mean, to accomplish each and every one of those goals would have been ultimately impossible. Well, knowing that, Rotary said because we've changed the way our Rotary year is operating this year, they've changed the way the citations. So if you look at that email I sent you out, club presidents and club secretaries, you'll see that there are 3 or 4 different distinctions that have changed, and we only got to, instead of getting 5 in a certain category, only have to get 2 or 3. So I'm in hopes that each and every one of our clubs will be able to, obtain at least the way they do. But congratulations to you guys. As this year came along, as we got into the middle of March, we never dreamed that, our Rotary face-to-face meetings would come to an abrupt halt, just like they did. They were here one day and gone. But these have become the norm now. This is the 13th Zoom meeting that I've done this week with different clubs and different organizations. But your guys are the masters at this. You're the professionals at this. I mean, I can remember we did the first visit with you on the Zoom call, and it was a tremendous event. I enjoyed it very much, and we laughed and played and did that kind of stuff. But you guys are this. And I found that I can change my backgrounds, Alicia. I'm actually at my house in the back bedroom of Odessa. I'm not in my office in downtown Tijervuri tonight, which is my backdrop. But Teresa says, you can't let them see your office back there. It's a mess. So hence you get the backdrop in that. Jim, I'm glad you're on. I got a couple of things that we've been talking about all week long with all the crisis that's happening right now. Ultimately, there's some opportunities that come out of all that. you know, I had an opportunity to talk to Barry Razin on Monday. And Barry, by the way, if you know what's going on down in the Grand Bahama Island down there, his Rotary Club, he's on complete lockdown. I mean, he can't leave his property right now. So, you know, we're talking about the stay at home and those types of things and loosening up the restrictions of this. What was it? Not what do they call it tonight? What do we have? We had a curfew. So in Hillsborough County, we had a 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew as of last week. And I think they've canceled that as of today. But Barry down there is on a complete lockdown unless they've changed that as of this morning. But, you know, he and I were talking about, you know, you could have never seen this coming. And each and every one of these tragic events changes the way we do business. It changes our lives. And hence, this will change our lives, too. There'll be some modifications that we do in the way we gather and the way we do meetings and the way that we do our fundraisers and stuff like that. And, you know, until I think there's a proven vaccine for this, I think this social distancing thing will be a part of our lives. I really do believe that. I mean, I see that Germany on next week is going to loosen up some of their restrictions and open up some of their country, by the way. And they're going to do that in baby steps too, by the way. They're not going to say, hey, it's full blown, we're wide open, we're doing meetings like this again. She anticipates it'll take months and months and months and months before they get to a point. And she said she's really not going to open her entire country up until they get some type of vaccine that she can protect her people with. So I don't know where that's headed with all that, but I do think there'll be some changes in the way we do business in Rotary and everything else. There are some real tragedies that are happening out there. Not the deaths are a horrible tragedy. The illness is a horrible tragedy. But in the wake of all this, many people have lost their jobs, lost their incomes, and those kind of things. There are a lot of wounded people out there right now, guys. So we've had a soft spot for some of the food banks. That seems to be where a lot of the necessities lie right now. We had this morning, was it yesterday? Yesterday morning, we had in one of the meetings, we had the people from the St. Pete Free Clinic and their food bank on through there, and they were talking about. Sorry, guys, that's District Governor-elect Jeannie. They were talking about what was going on down through there and how many families they normally feed in a week. And through the St. Pete Free Clinic, their food bank was almost like a supermarket if you'd ever been in there before. And they would average about 200 and, hey Tim, they would average about 250 to 300 families in a given week that would actually go through there. And the way that you could shop at the St. Pete Free Clinic Food Bank was much like being in the supermarket. You know, you'd go with one of their helpers and they had the vegetable and the produce aisle, and you could go down through that and pick from this and the meat and this, the canned fruits and stuff like that. So it put some dignity back into a food bank. You could actually feel like you were in a supermarket. Well, that's all changed. And I think last Thursday they had 711 families that actually came through their mobile food bank. And what they're doing now is, you know, they've got a drive-through process going down there, which is almost a city block long. They actually had an hour wait going through there on Thursday night, and then the St. Pete Free Clinic employees and people like that are actually filling the trunk up with as many groceries and trying to give them 3 meals is what they're really trying to give them, 3 to 4 meals. But there's a crucial shortage of that going around in different food banks. The St. Pete Free Clinic, and I'm not just preaching about them, everybody's doing good works in all 4 of our counties. The St. Pete Free Clinic sponsors a lot of, not their own food clinic, but they also supply food for a lot of the faith-based food banks around the city. You know, churches and things like that are giving different food things away and stuff like that. But each and every one of these food banks are running extremely low. We've got one up in High Point right now that works out of that area up in there. I don't know if you know much about Pinellas County, but that area behind High Point, there behind the jail, is an area that needs some help. And out of one of our Rotarians out of there runs that YMCA, and they have a food bank in through there, and their shelves are completely bare as of tonight. there's another situation that's going on up in San Antonio up through there where we've got the migrant workers. Now, you know, they're human beings and they're here working. The state says they're an essential part of our workforce right now because they're out there picking produce and doing that kind of thing, but they're off the radar. I mean, there's no mask for these people. There's no gloves for these people. There's no preventative situations for them. And now there's no food for these people as well either. So we're working diligently right now trying to fill that gap and that, but that's just a few of them. So I talk to each one of the clubs and I say, listen, you know, we're all Rotarians. We're all people of action. We're really used to helping people with our hands. We say, okay, let's go fix this. Let's go do this. Let's get out there and help them do this. We can't really do that right now, guys. The only thing we can really do is see if we can supply them with some cash to get some of their reserves built back up. So if you've got some of that in your club and you think you can help in any way, even a small amount is a huge help right now. I see Liz is not on the call tonight, is she?
No.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if you know what's. I know she's a member of your club, so I do think you know what's going on at Florida Camp Rotary right now. But you know, there's no students there, but the expenses are still going on in there right now, and they're operating on a deficit in their budget right now. So what we've asked those clubs to do is those who essentially will give money to Rotary Camp Florida on a yearly basis, and if they haven't given that, please go give that now. And if you can, if you'll go ahead and prorate into next year and send that as well, now please do that. And anything you can do to help the camp out right now is deeply appreciated. She's applied for some grants and some help that way, but those checks have not come in yet. Doug, you're on here. You know that the things that have happened with Rotary Youth Exchange, we've still got some kids here. Or some of what we call our inbound kids that are from different countries are still here. And they're here based on some of these situations. It was just unsafe to travel back. You know, their home countries were either not safe or the travel itself was not safe. So they're still with us here for a while yet and through the end of the term. All of our inbound kids are home with the exception, I think, of one. Our outbound kids that we sent out, I think, are home with the exception of one. But because of all the issues that we've had with health around the world, that program has been suspended for the calendar year next year. So those kids that were thinking that they were heading out of town or not heading out of town, those kids that were thinking about coming here are not coming here. We're in hopes that we'll be able to displace and put some of those into the program for the next year and do that. But we'll be a full year without Rotary Youth Exchange kids in our clubs. Those are just some of the tragedies that this thing has brought us. You know, I go back and heroes come out of this. You know, I see certain Rotarians do different things out there that I go, wow, you really did that. You know, you went way and above the call of duty to get those 20 bags of rice over there to do this and do that. I'm certainly not asking you to go out and expose yourself or anything, but if you can spare a few bucks one way or the other to some of these food banks or some of these organizations out there that can use some money, I would deeply appreciate that. And again, I want to applaud you. You guys have done a tremendous job. You have got literally Rotarians from all over the country and some from all over the world. We announced that people could call in for this meeting, and I see Jim's here and I see Doug's here and their members, unless you quit. Did you quit Inverness already, Doug?
Yeah. They want to throw me out, but I haven't quit.
Okay, and Jim, you're still down there somewhere, right?
I heard they wanted to get rid of me, but I don't think I'm gonna let them.
All right, so
Let me mention, Alan, I delivered 100 pounds of rice to the farm workers today.
thank you.
It was donated by Larry Van Possen of Vans, Cars, and Trucks, who's a former Rotarian. They can use, that was all they had when I got there, was 100 pounds of rice. So anything anybody can do.
I knew about the rice. I knew you were heading for the rice, Jim. That's why I brought that up. But thank you for doing that.
We get truckloads of food from FEMA here, usually 2 or 3 times a week, tractor trailer trucks. We've had to move that feeding from a lot behind one of the banks down to the fairgrounds because of the amount of need and being able to not let people get out of their cars. And so we moved the fairgrounds, but we're feeding upwards to 1,000 people this morning, and as soon as we get another truck in, it'll be. I wanted to mention about Rotary Youth Exchange. The president-elect of Rotary International has put together a committee, and they are trying to study a 7-month exchange and see if they can't do that. Like, obviously, it involves working with all the other countries.
Right.
And I think if they get that together, then we can bring that back to Rotary Youth Exchange Florida with a multi district and see if we can. We still have kids that won't age out that can go out next year, and so we're trying to figure out some way of not
Hey, Mike.
disappointing them totally.
Well, I had a chance to see Hannah yesterday. I saw her on a Zoom meeting with Clearwater, and she's back home, and she spoke a little bit to us in Chinese, and which was kind of fun. She was entertaining us for a little bit. She's an amazing lady in herself. Okay, I rant and rave for about 15 minutes. Anybody want to ask me any questions? Go ahead, Governor.
Governor Allen, our Rotary seminar for tomorrow's leaders, S4TL, is also shut down. Is that right?
It is, and Jim's on that board of directors too. Jim Tremmel, that is shut down for this year.
Yeah.
And that it's a shame, but there was no other way to do that.
Yeah. That was what, about 80, Jim? About 80 people, or more than
100.
With the staff, we round out at about 210.
Right.
There's about 165 delegates, and then there are 30 young people that come back the second and third year, and then about a dozen Rotarians. I can always use more Rotarians, not this year, but next year. You're on the list.
So sadly, that leadership program is not going to transpire. Yeah.
Now, I will tell you that those clubs that you've sponsored kids in that, those clubs that have sponsored kids in that, they've already sent in a deposit for their delegates. That's going to carry over to next year for them. Okay. So, their deposit will hold them a spot for next year as well. Suzanne, did you want to? Anybody else?
She has to unmute.
Unmute.
I can unmute.
Go ahead.
Okay. And I was going to ask, why couldn't that have been done via Zoom, the S4TL? Because I think that would have been perfect, and those kids have no problem with this.
Okay. Let me answer that, because that is a question that even got asked within the board. S4TL isn't the presenters, it's the experience. You have to put these young people into a dormitory experience, walk them off to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and have them physically interact with each other in activities. If we could do it, we'd do it, but it really wouldn't be S4TL. Interestingly enough, because we are a bring kids back to second and third year program, we're going to have problems next year because we won't have the yellow shirts from this year to be ready for next year. We're dealing with all kinds of issues. Would have been much nicer to have been able to do this so we didn't have to disrupt that chain.
Yeah. Governor Allen, I just want to take a quick minute of personal privilege. I had invited my brother Tim Miller in Hampton, Virginia. He's my middle brother, and so he's on board and seeing what we're doing here in this part of Rotary.
Tim, are you a Rotarian? Where are you from? I can't hear him, but
can we unmute him?
There we go. Yeah, yeah. I'm from Hampton. Actually, I'm a member of American Legion and the Elks. The Elks just finished up a program just within the last couple of days. Our lodge did, contributing safety glasses to local hospitals.
Cool.
Through our one of our programs. So I've been talking with Will, my brother, for years now about Rotary, and I very much respect what you all do.
Now, are you trying to get him in the Elks and he's trying to get you into Rotary? Is that the deal?
Not exactly.
But I do appreciate the invite, and I'm enjoying the Zoom conference. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Was Robin?
Well, I just wanted to interject that I think the time for talk is over, Tim. You gotta get in the E Club.
Yeah. There you go.
Hard sell, Robin.
Andy, I think, is muted.
He's still muted.
He's still muted. Ray's muted too. I can't hear you, Andy.
I don't have a unmute for him.
He has to unmute
I
himself.
think he's on his phone. His phone is actually what's muted.
Can we ask Doug about something? He told me about a new e-club that is into youth exchange and into cultural exchange. And I think it's Michigan, isn't it, Doug?
Well, it's an e-club. So they had people on there last night from Mexico and from California, from Canada. It was one of it's the e-club up there, but they've now decided to rename it as a cultural e-club.
I like that.
And so they had a lot of folks on there that were very involved with youth exchange and youth programs. And as a matter of fact, they probably had 25 or 30 people on, and they had a main speaker, Dennis White, who is one of the gurus of Rotary Youth Exchange and is a past president of the North American Youth Exchange Network, which we're part of. And it was really fascinating because he was doing a program on what affects the young people that have come back and their exchange has been cut short. Yeah. And so therefore, Rotary International's made an allowance for the fact and said, okay, we're going to let them say they've completed their youth exchange, but there are lots of factors that they never got to say goodbye to their host parents because they were quarantined. And
Right.
yeah, and it was a fascinating program that Dennis Miller put on. And then because of that e-club being all over the place, I mean, it was fascinating to me. By the way, I had a question for Will Miller. This e-club, you had talked to me about somebody in Africa?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of our new members is from Cameroon, Africa. He's 37, Alish?
Yeah, and Cameroon does not have any districts that are certified by Rotary International. However, I have our district 6950 had agreed to host a student out of Africa this year on a new program trying to generate exchanges with Africa. And we raised $3,000 to send to a Rotary club over there in Africa to help defray the cost of bringing a student here. That student was coming from Kenya.
Yeah.
The student is no longer coming, obviously, because we're shut down. But we're having discussions about perhaps donating that money to some cause in Africa instead of having it sit around for the year. My daughter works for an NGO that works with Africa and stuff. So I'm going to our board of directors and other clubs that have contributed to that $3,000 to see if they're willing to do that.
Yeah.
And your e-club put up $650 towards that same effort. And I'm hoping that your board of directors would entertain maybe agreeing to leave that $650 in and let us find a cause in Africa to send the money to. They're dealing with a lot of COVID problems over there as well.
Yeah, Doug, that district that covers Cameroon, there are 9 countries in that one district.
Oh.
Yeah, I talked to Rotary International, and they couldn't find a Rotary club there that had been, because they had to find somebody who's certified, and
yes.
We couldn't find anyone that was certified, unfortunately. So we would love to do that, but we did have an arrangement with Kenya to send a student, and unfortunately, that's not going to happen this year.
No.
Yeah, but Doug, you're talking about a country, and Will just told you that there are 9 African countries in one district, right?
That's right, Suzanne.
Yeah. President Andrew asked me to ask you guys, do you know how to put a question on the chat box? At the bottom of your screen is, if you go down there, there's a little button, it's called chat. And if you click that, you can actually type questions into myself or each other. Now, Andy asked me a question. He said, can you give us a list of things and who to give those things to? And yes, I can. Alicia and Andrew, I'll email you the information that I have tomorrow. on where those banks are and what you can do and what you can't do. Most of them need a little bit of cash. It's easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
Then also he asked if we can have RLI online. Now, we postponed the RLI that we had in Lecanto, and I'm really trying to remember where the next one is. It's out of our district, but we do have another one in our district in the fall. Who knows by then, RLI we could probably do online. It's a format that we could probably do just like this. It'd be much more conducive than trying to do, it's impossible to do S4TL or something like that online, but RLI we could do online. We could have a discussion leader and actually do this exactly like this. That format would work. And we'd get the same thing out of it. We could interact and do those things out. So that's a good way. Immediate past district governor Eloy is our RLI director this year. And that's a good thing to feed to him. He's pretty good at doing this as well. So, that's maybe a format that we can discuss with him, but we're hoping that we're going to be able to continue on with the one that we host in the fall. How many of you have been to RLI? Just a hand raise. All of you? Yeah, every one of us have. It's been a great thing. So we've done that. Listen, I will tell you that we talked about having your club online, Andy. How about Pets 3? Pets 3, that format is what we're talking about right now. All of our training, most of our training has been done. Most of our pets training has been done. We've got district leadership training or Pets 3 coming up is what we're basically doing. And we can do an online format with that.
Right.
Training was going to take place basically right through the district conference in May and June, but we can do an online format with that. I don't want to design that, but it could happen. We could get those people together and make that training format work there and make it so we could respond back and forth. Those kind of things we could do. S4TL we could not do, but those things we could do. And we're working on some training formats right now. And by the way, Rotary.org, if they're at their learning center, have you been to any of that?
Mm-hmm.
Handshake. Okay, there's a multitude of training exercises that you can take there from any position that you've got in Rotary or anything else that you want to know about Rotary. It's in there, and you can take an online class at your leisure and your time speed, and it's got a wealth of knowledge in through there. When we sent out a few emails a few weeks ago, I told the district about this meeting and your club meetings and things like that, and I hope that's okay. I will tell you that the zone, by the way, there are 34 zones in the world. We are in zone 34. We do our meetings together with zone 33 and zone 34, but the zone actually has a online Rotary meeting Mondays and Fridays. They're both the same meeting, so to speak. They have the same speaker. They interact a little differently, but they do. I have been going to the Monday one at noon. And if you want to know the login information on that, it's posted on DACDB, and it'll be on the calendar date for Monday. And it'll show you the login time is at 12 noon, and it'll show you the passwords. And we had about 160 of us on there last Monday, but it's a great way if you want to see the Rotary leaders are on there. Barry Rasmussen's been on there. I haven't seen Mark on there, but David Stovall and all those through there. And they've had some great speakers in through there. They had a gentleman who just entertained us last Monday. He was a Southern humorist. And so, we got a little bit away from learning about something within Rotary and just listened to some good Southern humor for about 15 or 20 minutes. It was hilarious. So if you want to chime in on that on Monday at noon, that's a great experience, or even Friday, but that information is on DACDB.
Great.
Would I do the four-way test?
Wait, before.
Suzanne is raising her hand.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Alan, I just wanted to tell you that Rotary sent me to Bangladesh in 2006. And next meeting that we are having, we're going to have a presentation, if I can figure out screen sharing with Alicia, to this meeting is going to go on that trip to Bangladesh. So if you'd like to join us or others, we're going to go traveling to another country. on
Well,
a
I sent
GSE.
you this, Suzanne. It came to you in an email, and it's a guide to maintaining member engagement during this pandemic, and it is a manual about how to maneuver different presentations through Zoom and GoToMeeting. So
Yeah,
it'll tell you how to get your presentation on there, whether it's going to be a PowerPoint or whether it's going to be a video or anything else you want to. You'll be able to incorporate that within your meetings.
yeah.
We'll do a little practice.
Thank
What time do you want to end? What time do you normally end?
We ended 8.
Oh, you do? Okay, so it's
Yep,
7:30.
so we've got time.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
so
Well, I
Hillsboro's
thought
letting
that.
us back out, my dear. So the curfew is over, but people are still staying at home. So that's good.
Alan, this is Connie.
Hello, Connie.
I'm not close to the keyboard, so I'm going to ask you the question. Good to see you. Do you think that at some time later, or are you still planning to do like Club of the Year and President of the Year? Or
we're
will
gonna
that
do
go
that.
away?
No, you know how we award that. We have talked about that. We're still going to make those awards and make those announcements. I was at a club meeting today, and they've already picked their Rotarian of the Year, and they announced it at their Zoom meeting today. We have not. We've got some of those. We've got some of those things working. I don't exactly know how we'll do that. Whether we'll do that in a mass Zoom meeting, Connie, or whether we'll do that in a meeting, an awards dinner, maybe early in September.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If you were still going to be able to do that, it would have to be.
Well, I think that clubs and Rotarians still earned that distinction this year.
Right.
This has been a horrible situation. It's happened to all of us, but the clubs have worked extremely hard, and Rotarians have worked extremely hard to bring out the best in all of us. So I think those recognitions still need to go on.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
Well, if you listen to the governor today from Florida and also to the White House briefing, the CDC is already starting to relax a lot of the guidelines. They're now, instead of groups of 10, they're allowing groups of up to 50, depending upon the area you're in and how safe your officials
And that's
believe.
phase 2.
Yeah, and that's starting to move in that direction. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be fearful of jumping right into that, but I think we're going to start seeing us move in that direction as long as we don't have a big spread of the virus.
Well, unfortunately, I was one of those people that I haven't been around anybody really. Teresa and I had Jason, our middle son, bring us groceries to the door last Thursday and drop them off at the front door. But I'm in that high percentage bracket. They said 65, and if you've got some underlying health conditions, I would be a statistic. I would be right there. I don't feel well, and I'm gone. So we just haven't taken that chance. We have had a new experience. So I don't know how many of you have done this. We've had Zoom calls with our grandkids every night.
Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious. I mean,
Right, Jacksonville Rotary Youth Exchange, Cassie Moyers, every Saturday has a Zoom call with all of her exchange students, outbound, inbound, and those that are in training. And it goes on for about an hour and a half, and it's really fascinating. It's really good for the therapeutic for the kids, because some of them are stuck in Thailand and other places, and some of those kids are stuck here. And then the ones that were in training that aren't going to get to go under the latest edict. But that has really been a fascinating thing if you ever get a chance to listen to that. Connie listens to it every week because she's an outbound coordinator for all the Asian countries. So
I think President Andrew asked me if district grants and foundations still will be operation as usual. Now, yes, to answer your question, all those will go on as usual, and we have been able to have some, I don't want to tell you extending the dates due for all this in a long period of time, but we've got some wiggle room into when those, like if you've got a project that you're not going to have completely ready to present, on April 30th, we've got a week or so in there to get those all together. So let me know if you're planning on doing something like that and are going to need a little extra time to put this together. We did have some some grants, some district grants that we could not fund this year, strictly because of a lot of those had to do with permitting and things like that. Just went to pieces here at the end of the year. So those grants had to be turned back in, as well as a couple of global grants. So we're going to have a little bit of extra money that at the end of the year in terms of DDF that we probably will turn back into some scholarships. We'll probably offer 2 rounds of scholarships. This is not cast in stone yet, by the way, but we'll probably offer some scholarships early on and then some scholarships again, open that door back up again in August if we've got some extra money left over. There's some money out there from Rotary International and disaster grants like that, up to $25,000 per district. And we're working on that. There's certainly a lot of people within our district, and you can fund projects within our own district with that money. So we're starting to look at some projects through that. And a lot of that will have to do with food banks and direct response and those kind of things, and where that money could be channeled to and how we're going to do that. But we don't know if we're going to do that and just grab that all money and just dish it out as a district, or let each one of the clubs submit a project for that money. But that'll come out real quick.
I wanted to mention, by the way, that past District Governor Eloy has authored his 3rd book. It is McFarland Publications put it out. It's been #1 selling book for them, and it's about escaping Cuba. As you know, his family escaped Cuba. I'm reading it right now, and it's a very fascinating book.
Oh, wow.
That's
it. You have your signed copy.
I did. And I'm actually about halfway through this. It's an interesting book, but
yeah, a lot of different stories in there. It changes your attitude in many cases towards some of those Cubans and what they've gone through, leaving their home country and coming here and assimilating into our society. And what we see through that book is that many of them have become exemplary citizens of America and the United States, and accomplished amazing things.
You're right. President Andy asked me if there was anything that you guys could do to help the district and to help Rotary. I think that you do a lot. I think that your club has the possibility to grow rapidly as a result of all this. I think you're going to see that people, and I'll give you an example. My club is, when I used to come around to your clubs, I tell you that I belong to a grain club. Remember, I used to make fun of them about what was on the buffet line and stuff like that. My club has 2 choices of juice on there. They have orange juice and prune juice. So my club is a grain club like that. But we had a Zoom meeting, and it's difficult. You hear them, I can't log on, and once you can get beyond all that, we got them in there. But then I noticed that there were people that logged on to our Zoom meeting that we hadn't seen at the club in months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, they can't make that meeting. And I thought that was interesting. And then they got involved with it. They really saw that. And Barry Razin told me the same thing about his club. His club is 150 strong. And he said that, what the result was is, they had their first meeting and now their second meeting in a format like this. And he said, we had been seeing people that we had not seen at our club in months, that just couldn't get there or didn't get there. And I think that this opens up an avenue for you guys to really grow substantially.
Yeah. Governor Allen, Carl Trelevin used to talk about his St. Pete Downtown Club as a club of old men and their fathers.
Well, Carl's got a wonderful club. But I gave, we've had some people in our club that had 50 years of perfect attendance. It's amazing. I was at one of the meetings and they asked me if I was a founding member of my club. I told them my club was 65 years old. Yeah. And one of them raised their hand and asked me if I was a founding member.
Oh.
Well, it's very interesting. Back when part of the criteria for the presidential citation was that you had to bring in so many new members under 40 in order to get the citation.
Yeah.
we accomplished that, and we, as a matter of fact, we brought in a little bit more than that. But that has given rise to, we have 3 or 4 applications a month that we deal with, because I sit on that committee. And we have a huge preponderance of young people joining our club in Inverness, and which is good because we're losing some members that are passing away. But it's a real phenomena to me that we have so many young people, because Citrus County is a very geriatric area. But you know, if we can figure out what's causing that, and what I think it is that young people that are coming in that we're engaging, that really get the spirit of Rotary, are inviting their friends, and their friends are in their same age category.
Well, in all due respect to your club up there too, Doug, that's an energized club. You know, there's a lot of energy in that room, and you can feel it there. And when people come to that meeting, they're engaged automatically. You know, I feel very much at home there. I enjoy that. It's a very nice atmosphere.
Yeah, we have people that come to the area and they go to all 6 clubs, and most of them, even if the geographically Crystal River may be better for them where they live, they always tell us that the Inverness Club, for some reason, has a certain aura about it of real excitement and involvement, and we collect $10,000 a year in happy sad dollars, because almost everybody contributes $1 to tell all the other members what's going on with their grandkids or something in their life.
You know, and Andrew, you're right. You guys do practice good social distancing. I mean, that's no question about that. Teresa and I are even in another room. So are you, Will. So, you know, we got 2 screens set up, and it's fun stuff.
Well, Connie won't let me out of her sight, so.
Well, yeah, I don't blame you, Connie.
Yeah, I need to keep my eye on him.
You know, and I think this kind of format's really good too. I was in a club meeting last night, and it was actually their first one. And you know, they had went through and there was probably, I don't know, maybe 25 of us, I don't know. But they had went through each one of the members that were logged on and gave them an opportunity to say, how you doing? You know, and what I thought was really important about that, and they did the same thing at Clearwater the other day when I was on their meeting on Wednesday. There was probably 40 of us logged in. I thought it was interesting because Robin and Raymond and, you know, I don't know who you had an opportunity to talk to this week other than your wife or something like that. You know, Teresa, the only person I've had an opportunity to talk to is online like this, or Teresa. And you know, it gives us an opportunity to say, hey, how am I doing? And, you know, this is what I want to talk about for 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And that's the social aspect of this that you can drain into it and get into it.
Well, you're lucky because Teresa's very pleasant and a nice person. Connie can be very nasty and mean to me.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes you deserve that.
Yes.
You know what I do? Every morning, my mother calls at 9, which is her coffee time, my coffee time for breakfast. I read to my mother for an hour. We're reading a book together.
Oh,
So
wow.
she's in a nursing home in Wiesbaden, and I wanted to go see her, and I probably can't. And she's been locked down, so you know everybody's fine inside, but nobody's allowed in. And so that's what we're doing right now. So we're keeping in contact every day for an hour. So that's something you could do if there is somebody
Absolutely.
shut in. You know, read to them, and
I'm
you know, order a book, have them have the same book. This is really important.
I'm on
and
the
I have
YMCA.
coffee dates with friends on, you know, I have my coffee and cake and they have theirs, and we do we do WhatsApp. So, yeah.
Nice.
I'm on the YMCA board of directors here for Citrus County, and we have 13,000 plus members. And today we started dividing up the list, and we have 30 board members, and each of those board members are going to start calling those members just to make sure that we're in touch with them and see if there are any needs or anything that we can do. And I really kind of look forward to that, you know, type of contact.
Yeah.
And it's just something we could also do, and some Rotary clubs do it. If they don't see their members for a while, they call them.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to that exercise to see how well it turns out.
It's amazing. Every night or every day, today I've had only 3 calls, but every day I've had 3 or 4 calls from Rotarians around our district that just want to talk about things. But I've encouraged each one of our club presidents to divide this responsibility up between them themselves and their president-elects. I think you need to touch base with your members I think you ought to call them on the phone, and I think you ought to just make sure, hey, you're okay. Do you need anything? I mean, is there anything I can do for you? I mean, is there anything Rotary can do for you? You know, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, and they appreciate hearing from us. And, you know, in my own club, I've been guilty of, when I was president, you know, not seeing somebody and just letting it fall off my radar, and then come to find out that, gosh dang, the reason I didn't see Bill, he's been in the hospital for 2 weeks. I felt like an idiot, you know, so. I'm not suggesting that, but I think it's a good time for us to be cognizant of, you know, other members, and, you know, take care of ourselves and our other members in our clubs.
Well, I think if you can get them to participate in a Zoom call, just one time. We have had members that have fallen by the wayside that participated in our Zoom call this Tuesday, that now they're addicted to it. When are we doing it next time? And
I think there's an avenue for this. I mean, this is going to be probably part of our new norm.
Yeah.
You know, I see us and hope that we'll be able to get back into some one-on-one meetings and hands-on meetings and group meetings like we were. But I suspect that this is going to be probably part of our Rotary Club's norm now, going forward.
Yeah, even if you did it once a month.
Yeah, whatever it ends up being, it is.
One of the things that I told our club that we'd start doing once we are able to go back and meet is that we'll set up a Zoom camera for our live meeting too, so that people that can't come, like we have some people that can no longer drive because their kids took their car keys away from them and took them off the street because they're just to that point in their life. But they could do this and still be part of our club. So that's one of the changes we'll make once we do go back live.
Well, the E-Club that I was on with last night that Suzanne had alluded to, it's District 5960 out of Michigan. They actually tape their Zoom meetings and put them on YouTube every week.
Ours, Doug, ours is on our club site. Okay, so if somebody wants to visit our club, they can go back and watch the old Zoom meetings as well.
Yeah, and they're also on YouTube. I put them on every month now too. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The other benefit that I've had is that Connie has finally started combing her hair and putting on makeup because of the Zoom meetings. Otherwise, it's the Wicked Witch of the West.
You know, if you pop up and you go with a video and call somebody, you're texting for a little while and boom, then you just call them. Then they are so completely surprised that the next time I think they are going to dress up a little bit more because somebody may just pop in their living room. They don't expect it.
Well, we've run about 56 minutes, guys. I don't know how you normally end your meetings, but it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed spending time with you. I hope I can get back on with you again. I'd urge you to log on to the zone meeting on Monday or Friday. I think you'd find that entertaining and have a lot of information. Please stay in touch. If I can help you with anything, please let me know.
Sure.
If you get some ideas, I'll send you guys out some places that are looking for some help and how to do that. If you guys have a project, you need some help, please let me know.
Andy's trying to signal something.
He's trying to tell us to do the four-way test. And who wants to lead us, Teresa?
I can do it.
All right, go ahead, Raymond.
This is a Rotary coin.
Okay.
Very valuable. One thing Rotarians are famous for collecting trinkets. I have a whole drawer of these from my last club. Anyway, the four-way test is on the back of the coin.
It is.
Okay. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will friendship will be beneficial to all concerned.
Good job.
Yay!
Thank you, Governor Allen.
Be safe.
Have a good evening.
Yes, thank you.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for joining us.
Yep.
Jim, it's good to see you, bud.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Nice to see you,
Bye-bye.
Michael.
Robin, Michael.
You guys, love seeing you.
Have a good night.
Stay safe and well.
Thank you for hosting.
Bye,
Thank
TLC.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jim. Bye, Alan.
Bye, John Boy.
Night, John.
Night, John Boy.